Oshay Duke Jackson. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Good to be here, Doc.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. So we have a couple folks in common. One of them is on the screen behind me. Solo TV 84.
Oh yeah,
Solomon Jones. Another one is back there, Donovan Sharp.
Yes.
And then the person that connected us, I have a show together with him called Getting Ish Done, and it's basically the last Thursday each month, and that's Ike Ogiamian.
Very talented man.
Yeah, he's a guy that fits the definition of high value. He fits that definition. Also known as Super Chat Jesus. But that's my man.
Oh, he's very good. He's funny too.
Yeah, and super smart, intellectual. I mean, we have these really deep philosophical conversations on his platform, so that's been cool. So I wanted to sort of give a brief, like, why am I interviewing you, and why are you on my channel? What led me to you? What led me to the red pill? What led me to the black manosphere? You know, and so. So basically, the way this went down was, I think I've had a lot of the same experiences that most men have had in relationships, and have sort of seen the sort of breaking down of the most important relationship. The most important component in society is a relationship between a man and a woman. It's the one that creates and generates everything else. And seeing that break down due to feminism, and seeing it break down, and even in my own personal relationships, the sort of challenges that I've had. And, you know, you start thinking to yourself, man, you know, am I the only one having these experiences? And, you know, 20 years ago, there was no black manosphere. There was no content. There was no red pill content. So there wasn't really a place to go where folks that have had a lot of these kinds of experiences could have a dialogue, could talk, could learn, well, this is your issue. The reason you're having these, a lack of success with women is because you're doing X, Y, and Z, or because, look, female nature, this is the kind of thing that they're looking for, and you don't have that right now, or you're still in your early 20s, and it's going to be a long time before, you're going to really have any real success and meaningful success with women. So, but, I was poking around, probably watching Jordan Peterson and other kind of philosophical content that I'm interested in. And the YouTube algorithm thought that I would like Solo TV 84. And so it started giving me these things.
That's the same thing happened to me. He's my big bro in this YouTube thing. So that's who I first came to. So,
yeah. And so I was like, who is this dude? Who's this dude with this all the time? I'm like, what is going on? And I still hadn't seen what the guy looked like. Yeah. You just see the logo, right? And then sometimes, and he talks about like a diverse range of topics, and of course he's got his simp tales. But then he also has, like, he'll be talking about anime. He talks about Bitcoin. Recently he's been talking about NoFap, and he's been on that journey for what last time I knew it was like 516 days or something. And now he's talking about semen retention. So he talks a wide array of topics And so I started watching him, and at first I was like, I'm not sure what's going on, but then I was like, man, this dude is like saying some stuff that, are you allowed to say that? Mm-hmm. Is it okay to say that? You know, it started there. And then through him, I found out about Donovan Sharp because Solo was on the 7. Mm-hmm. And then I started checking out all the guys on that channel, and in particular, Kevin Samuels. Mm-hmm. And what resonated with me with Kevin Samuels, so, you know, I'm a Christian. I'm actually a minister of music at a Missionary Baptist Church.
Okay.
And so a lot of what Kevin Samuels talks about, I know what he's talking about is straight truth. Like, I know what he's talking about. Like, and it just resonated immediately. And again, I was like, man, nobody is saying the kind of stuff that this guy is saying. And, you know, with that kind of, you know, delivery. So anyhow, fast forward, you know, I started watching your content. I started watching, you know, like I said, KS and all of the other guys on that panel. And I just, I kept seeing this guy, the Super Chat Jesus, right? I kept seeing this guy. I was like, what is going on? This dude's giving like $500 and stuff. I was like, oh my goodness. This dude is on some different, like every night. And I was like, what?
That guy's just crazy.
Like, totally ridiculous. And then I was like, man. And then I saw him on Solo's channel, like on a panel. And then I was like, I wonder if this guy would come on and do an interview. And so back in October, I reached out to him, and he got right back to me, and we did an interview. And then he hooked me up with you. He hooked me up with Solo. And then through Solo, I got hooked up with Donovan, and then, you know, the rest is history, so to speak. And he hooked me up with, you know, Jessica X. And so he's been very
resourceful,
very important. Yeah. He's been a connector and a networker. He again, he fits that definition of high value. That you know, being useful to the group, being generous.
Yes.
All of that.
He's definitely
okay. So first question for you is, and I saw a recent video that you did where you were talking about sort of the history of the Black Manosphere. Can you go into that a bit? Just talk about the history of the Black Manosphere and kind of where we were there and kind of how far we've come and all that.
I think like and that was a pretty funny video. I don't know, like if you saw the introduction, you know, I like to make a little bit of fun stuff like that. But so the year in the beginning of 2015, I had got accepted to the current institution I'm in now in medical school. So me as a guy, I was wanting to make content that was for who I felt. I mean, at the time I wasn't looking to make any money or anything like that. I was just, you know, here are some of the issues that I think Black men are going through. And I would talk about my own and things like that. It was much more vulgar at that time, much more, you know, like rough, you know? So around June, I had been on the platform for at least 4 or 5 months. There was a guy by the name of Obsidian Media Network that came onto the platform. And he sounded much different then because his yelling and arguing with people over Black YouTube, his voice has come a little bit, you know, if you remember James Cleveland, you know, kind of got a little bit raspier over the years. He got that James Cleveland effect now. But he was making some really interesting content. It was very intellectual. You know, Obsidian doesn't get a lot of credit for being a very, very astute, very talented and intelligent man that understands the dynamics that go on within Black America. So he had written for Return.
Thank you so much for watching my video so far. If you'd like to support, there are several ways to do so below. Also, likes are free. Please comment, share, and subscribe. Now back to the video.
Written for Return of Kings, which is where he met Donovan Sharp. That's how I met Donovan Sharp, was through Obsidian. But then I was the one that called up, I called Donovan Sharp and begged him to come to YouTube. But Obsidian was the one that knew him through Return of Kings. They did a show together. And so Obsidian was the guy that was saying that Black men need to support this sort of content. Would Black men support Black male content? Would they pay for it? Right? Giving Black men a voice, would it be an economy? None of us would have ever thought that this would be like it is now. But Obsidian Media Network was the person that said, you know what? I've done this on the white manosphere. I've written for blogs 19 years. What will Black men do? I know YouTube is where a lot of Black men are at, but would they support this content? It's the test phase. So there's another guy who shall remain nameless. He was another guy that gave us the name the Black Manosphere. Okay. And at first it was three guys that were kind of, and then I was the guy that came in, even though I was there on YouTube before, at the time I wasn't considered, the creator I am now. I was like just one of the guys that was there. But what I started doing in the Manosphere was a lot of organization and bringing in the talent. So around 2016, 2017, a lot of the content was about, Black women. A lot of it was, if you want to call it, very niggerish, if I could say that. I don't mean to, mess your podcast up, but
No.
but that's what it was. It was a back and forth roast session, but we were not able to get people to listen to us and want to be a part of the community at that level, because at the time nobody professional would touch it. So we needed to be able to reach Black men and get them to come into this space and take it other places that we couldn't. So where were the guys who were the T.S. Johnsons of the world, the Dr. Thunders of the world? Where could guys come in and put their expertise on things and basically develop our space, like, Android, our app developer would develop the marketplace on Apple or Android. So, and then what about the guy who was, that sounded white, like, let's say like Donovan Sharp, a guy who was, and what's so funny is Donovan Sharp's initial audience was Black. And if you listen to Donovan Sharp and how he talks, if you close your eyes, you would think he's a Caucasian. But there were a lot of people who were like Donovan Sharp in the Black community that just didn't get a chance. But in the Black Manosphere, you could get a chance and talk about your experiences. And there was a lot of Black men out there like Donovan Sharp that felt that they have been kept out of the Black community for what they sound or for what they liked. You mentioned guys that liked anime. That's something that just wasn't cool, right? But the Manosphere space was more for guys who had sort of been rejected by the Black community, who had sort of been, let's say Black women kind of didn't think that they were the archetype, what the archetype is, and a lot of pseudo masculinity and things like that. So the Black Manosphere gave a home to the guys who were a little bit more intelligent. I felt guys who happened to be maybe a little bit more conservative, whether that be community based or politically based. And so what I was doing was, let's say Obsidian was Peter in Christianity. I was Paul. You know what I mean? So I took what I thought he was trying to say, and I took my skill set, and then I tried to take in creators. I collabed with over 200 or 300, and I was the guy that kind of built more of a community from guys and gave guys a platform to do what they do today. And so from there, 2017, there was a guy that was watching my live stream that had 7,500 subscribers at the time. His name was Kevin Samuels. You might have heard of him. All right. So 2016 is when I begged Donovan. November 2016, I called him. I said, listen, bro, I just heard you on Obsidian show and I heard your podcast. I said, listen, whatever you're doing right now, if you give me 200 videos on your channel, and I was talking about him, I said, you will never have to work a day in your life in 1 year. I said, because you're that talented. I said, but if you come to this space, you'll never work again for nobody else. He said, really? I said, yes. So that was 2016. We got Donovan. 2017 was Kevin Samuels. And there was a guy, He was, in my opinion, very dry at the time, and he was a fragrance guy. He was skinny, things like that. But he was serious about the business, right? And people didn't take him serious at first, but the guy just kept working at it. The guy just kept working, and I told him, I said, bro, you got good shit, but you're a little dry. Now Kevin Samuels is the most talked about guy probably on the internet in the black space. You know, so he's taking our message again. He has become Paul in his own way. He's taking our message to people that we couldn't get it through to, which was black women, right? Because I can't talk to black women because, you know, if you watch some of my videos, you know how I can get. So Obsidian can't talk to black women, but Kevin Samuels has enough decorum and patience in his content that he can get it through to them where we could not. So that's been our history. You know, we have a fervent community where we try to help each other. You know, we've, you know, people try to shut us down. You know, people tried to flag us. I've had people dox me. People try to call my, you know, employers or schools. People get pictures of your mother and stuff like that. We went through all of that just to put out our positions. And it's not going to stop. You know, we're going to continue to be successful. And that's one thing that we've done. We've been successful in getting the message across. And now I would say now that if you look at the white manosphere and guys like Roosh, you know, who's now, you know, Rolla Tomasi, our guys are better than them. I mean, if you think about the dating coach guys, Alpha Male Strategies, he comes from our community, Stefan Klingscale. These are guys that come from us. So our guys have taken over the manosphere completely in just that short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent. It's pretty incredible. I mean, guys that could be doing anything in media, you know, that are in the space. So talking about Kevin Samuels, who, you know, talk about a guy that's got a jetpack on his back.
Oh my God.
This dude, I mean, and you know, he had about 160,000 before this next round, the average at best, you know, whole thing. And now this dude has got coming up on 400,000 subscribers. It is totally ridiculous. I mean, and this happened like in like a month and a half or something.
Oh yeah.
Like, dude. But talking about Kevin, you know, one thing that Kevin points out in a way that I haven't seen pointed out this clearly. I think it's something that black folks know, black men know about black church, but it's not something that has been specifically pointed out with the kind of, you know, statistical analysis that he provides. So, and that is, you know, black men are leaving black church. They don't come back. I mean, you go to church because, you know, because your mama takes you to church, and you stay there long enough, and then you go to college, and you know what it used to be is that you go to college and you're probably not going to church when you're in college. You're trying to find yourself. You're trying to figure out what's going on, whatever. And you know, percentage of those folks don't ever come back to church, but a lot of folks, once they starting a family, okay, I got some kids, you know, it's like, hey, you know, maybe this religion thing is, maybe there's something I need to, you know, take seriously again. And so that they'll come back after, you know, I don't know, maybe they're in their mid-30s or something. But now what's happening is black men are just not coming back. And they're not coming back because essentially, and this is not 100% of churches, but for the most part, there's nothing there for them. The sermons are all sort of catered towards women. I mean, and you have so many single mothers that there's certain topics that you're probably not going to talk about. And then let alone talking about, you know, the mega church sort of kind of church, you know, these mega churches. Okay. So the tendency for a for a preacher, I mean, if you are doing this on purpose or not, subconsciously, if I look out and I'm preaching to an auditorium that seats 5,000, and it has 3,500 in it, which is ridiculous numbers. That's huge. Still, you're probably thinking, man, but look at all those empty seats. I still see these empty seats. I wonder if there's something I can do to the message that would fill up the rest of those seats. Right? And that's not what church is supposed to be, right? But if you know that most of the people that are in your church are single mothers, are you going to say a lot of stuff that's going to be, you know, seem like it's a little pointed at, you know, maybe that's not the best choice? The single mother thing. And are you going to say things that are more catered towards men, which in many cases there's not nearly as many men there, right? And so you end up with these sort of you know, you end up with a lot of churches that don't have, you know, a black man. Black men have felt like they're not being sort of catered to or even spoken to in black church. And one thing that I find interesting is that, and I heard you say this, is that I think there's more black men that are involved in the Manosphere than in black church. And that's a first, and that's a first, because black folks are religious. You know, that we have that tendency. We you know, what is it in the hood? What is it? There's a church and a liquor store on every corner, right?
Right.
So, or opposite corners. You leave church and go to the liquor store. Okay. No, that's too bad. Or I don't know, maybe you were at the liquor store on Saturday,
right,
and you just go across for Sunday service. I don't know, something like that. But so I think you grew up Christian. It seems like you grew up going to church.
Man, listen, I'm straight National Baptist. I come from the hoop and the holler.
Right.
You know, grew up listening to Reverend C.L. Franklin. You remember who he was? The father of Aretha Franklin, and we would listen to the Eagle Stirreth His Nest. My grandfather was a deacon. He was ordained at Macedonia Baptist Church in 1949 in North Richmond, California. My brother is currently a pastor. So I come from you know, the Holy Roller situation, and you know, I grew up listening to later down the years Reverend Leo Daniels on LPs and things like that. What in hell do you want? And I thought myself I would go in that same route that my older brother did, but it became quite apparent that if you're a pastor and you know, pastors, if you're full time, you need money, okay? And one of the best ways to get voted out is to piss off high-ranking members or piss off women. So what you're looking at right now with a lot of the things, and let's be honest too, let's kind of go back. And the black manosphere has this problem. The black men still have a hard time support without there being women involved. What do I mean when I say that? I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna fast forward, but I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna retrograde this conversation a little bit. If you look at the success that Kevin Samuels has, it is you have Kevin Samuels, and Kevin Samuels talking to women. Okay, that's a powerful dynamic. Almost 99% of the, you know, Kevin Samuels is not making content like, you know, just by himself. So he has the interaction with women. Now, Kevin Samuels is an awesome content creator. Has, you know, before he was doing this, has videos within the millions and, I mean, hundreds of thousands. He can create his own content, sure. When he's dealing with men and coming to black men, do they support it as much? No. But when it's Kevin Samuels telling women what they want to hear, yes, right? What does that mean to say? That a lot of black men are apathetic with supporting black male issues without women being involved in it. And you know that if you go to this Facebook group, you're gonna see a lot of chicks, you know, during the live stream. And we all know that as content creators, right? So what that shows is that black men, when it comes to issues that we have, are apathetic anyway. And that's something that black preachers know. I'm going to say it again. If I cater my message towards brothers, will they support? I can tell you, being over here for 6 years, I have to work like a dog to keep my message for men. And if you do that, a lot of, I don't want to say the N word, but a lot of brothers are apathetic towards our own plight. A lot of black men don't care about our own issues. You can see somebody like Jessica X. Now I can just, and Jessica X is a person that, if you want to say that she, the first time she came on to a live stream that I had, right? Jessica X can make a live stream, 1,300 people, and get thousands of dollars in the show, $500, $600, $700. And those guys will not come, and nothing wrong with it. I support what she does. But those guys, for us, in our same sector, a lot of guys complain that this won't even happen with our creators, right? So a lot of preachers know this. If I go on the limb for brothers, are they going to support? The answer is probably no, okay? Because black men like to hear hoorah, 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 yeah, get them. But when it comes to, supporting financially, black men are just not that loyal a lot of times to their own plight. And because black men is damn if you do, damn if you don't. Okay, you're not catering your message toward just in the black church. Okay, all right, so I do that, then what? Black men just don't support like that a lot of times. And preachers know that. And what black pastors saying, listen, I'm not about to go out here for you Negroes and start preaching on your behalf when y'all not going to support. You're not going to show up, right? You're not going to get, you damn sure ain't going to get no goddamn money. Let's just be real. If you have to depend on black men a lot of times, now I'm saying this as a guy who has did some of the impossible stuff. Me, Kevin Samuels, Obsidian, we've made a full-time career out of dealing with brothers, as our market. But for the most guy to say, I'm going to come out and deal with black men and sell to them as an audience and make money, shit, right? If you look at Atlanta, you go there, if you've been to Atlanta, Georgia, and all that stuff, what are more of the entrepreneurs doing there? You can't sell nothing to brothers unless it's gold teeth or something like that. For the most part, a lot of black men are getting into businesses where black women are the customers because black women support more. Just in general, leave religion out of it. Black men have a hard time supporting other brothers, especially when we do good work. Now, it is getting better, but we got to understand that's where the issue is. And a lot of black preachers are not going to go out there and start up, because, for what there's something that men like. Men like men's ministries, obviously, back in the day, you used to have the quartet singers. You had like 5 niggas with, I'm going home, they would have them little, ruffles and stuff. And, it was like the gospel version of the Temptations, the 3 blind boys of Alabama. So, male choruses, and men's ministries, sports leagues, things like that. Yeah, you can do that to bring the men in, but will the men come and will they support it and things like that? That's another issue. But I will say, on the defense of Kevin Samuels and my brother who's a pastor, a lot of black men, when it comes to our issues in the church, in the 50s, 60s, you have more of the deacons, if you can remember. Now, obviously, we were not born at that time, but the deacons had the stronghold over the church. And the deacons had the power to remove most pastors, right? It's not like it is now. I mean, sometimes the deacons would carry the pastor out of the church in the pastor seat and lock him out the door. You had deacons that were like that back then. But that was when you had more families in the church. Now you don't have more families in the church. And sisters have always supported the church financially, usher board, choir, and in the black community, to be a part of the church for a lot of women, it's a good entrepreneurship. It's a lot of connections. You can make money there and things like that. But if black men want the church to cater to them, and we have to be able to understand. We have to come with something and that's going to be controversial, what I'm saying, but it's the same mentality. Black men will want the church to cater to them, the political system to cater to us. What are we giving to these people to make them want to come speak to us? Forget the church. The Democrats every year don't even come talk to black men about anything. Like, we don't even need y'all because we know that y'all are apathetic. So we're not even gonna waste our time with you. Give us the black women. Then you hear black men, well, they don't want to come talk to us. For what? You know, black men have to understand what their spending power is, and black men have to be more serious about our issues. The pastor is not going to take your issues seriously if you don't. I'll give you an example. You know, and you're a minister of music. Now, in the 70s and 80s, you know, we'll just call a few names. Now, you're from the Midwest area. You might have heard of a guy named Reverend Charles Nix. You ever heard of him?
No.
Charles Nix was one of the greatest organist out of the Midwest, out of the St. James Missionary Baptist Church. He and James Cleveland started something that you know now as the GMWA. Okay.
Right.
So, and we know with the GMWA in the black community, you know that they meet once a year. We already know what goes down. A lot of us, we know what the suspicions are, right? Everybody knows that GMWA is associated with a lot of. We know what that's about. Okay. But it was under wraps. And you know, as a minister of music, as long as you didn't talk about it, and as long as people couldn't verify it, and as long as you was good on the Hammond organ every Sunday, don't ask, don't tell. That's how the black church always has been. But now, because the LGBT as a position has taken their strengths and said, listen, we want to be recognized in churches. Churches are now bending their philosophies to appease them. Look at T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes was like, maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was a strong stance on where he was. Now, his position has changed. Barack Obama couldn't even have gotten a second term. He was against gay marriage. Now look, why? And I'm using this as an example. The LGBT community is going to push their agenda. African-American men are going to complain about how things are, and they're never going to give somebody a reason to push the agenda. Okay, now it's okay if we're roasting people and you're in the chat and you're super chatting. All right, cool, that is awesome, that's great. But what about your issues? That's you getting arrested or killed in the street. That's you getting profiled. What is it about you that's going to make you come out and say, and until black men get to that point, the black church will never cater to them. Black women are not going to cater to you. Nobody's going to cater to you. And a lot of this black male entitlement comes from just the lack of just being apathetic. And nobody likes apathetic people. And black men have to overcome that. We have to see the purpose that you talked about being high value. Brother I, he introduced you to me. He introduced you to Solo, helping your platform. We have to understand this is the way to go, right? As African-American men, we need to help each other. And then once we can stop looking at each other as enemies and say, you know what, this is a good brother, I want to bring the brother into the business, I want to help the brother do this and that and that and that. Then all of a sudden you can start to, as you care about one another, because if you don't care about yourself, you can't care about me. Black men, a lot of black men are out here hurt, feel like don't nobody love them, okay? That's the big part. And if you don't feel like don't nobody love you, you can't care about yourself and you can't care about nobody else's issues. So we have a problem there. So if you don't care about yourself, the preacher can't care about your issues. The government can't care about your issues. So of course they're not going to cater to you because you're not going to support it. But if you care about yourself, then people can care about your issues. And I think we're getting there, but the black church is not going to cater to people who don't care about their own issues. I'm sorry, they don't. And they shouldn't.
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed about you, you said something there about supporting each other, supporting, helping people with their platform. One thing I notice you do frequently is you'll shout folks out, and like, for instance, there's a brother that he's got 700 something subscribers, and you said you trying to get him to 1,000 subscribers to help him get monetized in one of your videos. But that's it's like a common thing. Interviewing some of the folks that you've interviewed, not because you're trying to elevate your own prominence, but rather because you're trying to bring other folks up. And so I want to commend you on that. And we need more folks that are in your position that are doing what it is that you're doing, trying to pull other folks up, trying to create trying to create buzz, recognizing talent in trying to partner with folks that, maybe would not have been in the space. So we need more folks like you doing that. So I appreciate that. The black church thing. So it's interesting. I think, of course, that goes hand in hand with politics, right? So one thing that I notice, and this is the same thing, as long as I've been in church, going to church, working at churches, you see the same dynamic every election cycle. And that is Democrats come in a couple weeks before the election, a week before the election, the week of the election. I remember even seeing at one church I was working at, Cornell West showed up, and this was back when Obama was on the ticket, and you don't never see any of those folks. You don't never see them anytime other than right before the election. Now, to the Democrats' defense, although you can totally see through the intention, because after the election they don't do nothing. That's another discussion.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
But we don't make any deals with them beforehand. I mean, look at what happened with Ice Cube. We don't make no deals beforehand, and then afterwards they don't do nothing.
Right.
Even promises that they said, but at least they show up to be seen. Republicans don't even try.
Right.
They don't even show up. And my issue, I would describe myself as being somewhere between black nationalist and libertarian or something, So I'm definitely on the conservative side, more on the conservative side. But I think we need a black party because I'm convinced that the Dems and the Republicans, well, first of all, the two-party system, they are jointly culpable for where we are right now.
Yes.
Right? Because they've been passing the power around and keeping all the same folks in power, by the way.
Right.
That's how you do that. If you want it to seem like, hey, there actually is an option other than the one that's in office, but still sort of keep all the same people in play, and in the game, in power, because there's all these think tanks. You don't have to be elected to be close to the range of power, right? You have think tanks, you have lobbyists, you have all of this. You have what Biden put. He put some Republicans in his cabinet, right? So there's ways to keep all the same folks in power.
Yes.
They're not going to do anything in particular to address black male issues. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything. The Democrats have done a lot for black women, right? There's all kind of programs for black women, but it's like Minister Japp says that the straight, free-thinking black male is the last minority.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let me kind of just interject in there. So obviously you want to take, and everybody knows this, you want to take away a community, you take away the men. That's what we know. That's by design. And that's I've been to I've been to the UK now, in a lot of different places in the world where whites are dominant, and it's the same play. Brazil. Well, they're not really white. Some of them think they're white, but you get what I'm saying. And so that's the design. Design is to cater to the women in the black community and make them think that they're much more stronger, or they're better, and things like that. And we have to understand that that's the play. As black men, we have to understand that's the play. Something to be upset about or to be angry about. We know that they're going to cater to these groups, but one thing is for sure, Doc. Nobody is stopping black men from trying to help or work with one another. Okay. And me, I've dealt with so many Black male personalities, because to do the business that I'm doing, you come across a lot of personalities and collaborations. And a lot of times I have to really understand, like, well, this person is not like this. I mean, I can't take this person's attitudes personally. This is just how this person is. He's still a brother, right? You know what I mean? And I have to really understand that, not to take things so personal, and that he's still our people, right? And so I need to find a way to work with him, unless it's just I can't. But I need to find a way to make a bridge with my brother, because one thing I know is the white man's not going to give me nothing. That's what I do know. He's not going to give me anything. If don't nobody know that, I'm pretty sure you know that. They're not going. We have to work for what we get. Black men are going to have to work for what we get. So if I'm going to have to work for what I get, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a bridge between a lot of Black men. And guess what? I don't need LinkedIn for that. Hello. And that's what a lot of Black men understand. See, that LinkedIn, see, no, I have nigga in. I'm sorry, I mean to say that, but that's what I got. All in Africa, I try to work with the men, and a lot of Black men don't understand that's the power that you have. Of course, the white man is always gonna look out for, keeping you down as a group. They're not gonna elevate you to the position that they're at, but that don't mean that you cannot elevate yourselves. And we need to understand and tell. I have a video that's gonna come out pretty soon talking about, I don't know if you watch sports, but do you see what's happening right now with the Houston Texans? Do you see what's happening there with Deshaun Watson?
I mean, I haven't been paying close attention to that story.
Okay, so Deshaun Watson is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, okay? Yeah. And Bill O'Brien was the former coach, okay? And Bill O'Brien was not only head coach, but general manager for 6 seasons. 5 out of those 6 seasons, they went to the playoffs and went to the divisional times twice. But what he did was he traded DeAndre Hopkins in a stupid trade, was one of the best receivers in the NFL, not the best receiver. And then they went 4-12 last year. So now Deshaun Watson is tired of the Houston Texans, okay? So then what are they doing now trying to keep him? They now bring in David Culley, right? He's an African-American, never been a head coach ever. But to try to save the ship, let's bring in an African-American to keep Deshaun Watson as the coach. Deshaun Watson doesn't care if David Culley's coming. He wants to go. But when the Texans lose Deshaun Watson and the Black coach goes 1-15 next year with no talent around him, he's a scapegoat. You know what I mean? So let's set this guy up to fail, right? Let's set him up to fail, because we can say, well, we gave the African-American coach a chance. Look at what he did. He went 2-14, but we're not going to talk about the other white man that came before him, ruined the organization, and didn't give the brother a head start to where he would have the resources. Okay. And the thing about this is, as a position of power, as Black men, we keep trying to get into these organizations, pleading for the white men to let us in the NFL, pleading for the white men to let us in the NBA, pleading for the white men to let us in the MLB. Listen, we got let them have that. That belongs to them. Okay. One of the things that we need to do is, if what we have, let us start off small. It's ours, right? That way you don't have to work 27 years to beg them for a chance. And then when they set you up to fail and then you fail, then you all of a sudden, well, we gave you a chance. Remember that one movie, Remember the Titans, when Denzel Washington was the coach? Mm-hmm. What did they tell him in the movie? We're going to make you the coach. But if you lose how many games? What they say? If you lose one game, you fire.
Right.
If you lose just one game. Now, they're not saying it like that now, but it's similar. And as African-American men, how long are we going to continue to be like, well, we want to, it's not set up for you to be successful. But the one thing that you can do, and I will say this as a Black manosphere, when guys were trying to work with the white manosphere in our spaces, look at Donovan. Donovan was over at Return of Kings in their doghouse. Okay? In their doghouse, writing articles. Donovan by far has more talent in his pinky And me and Donovan don't have like the best relationship, but I will tell you, he is one of the most talented guys in the Manosphere, white or black, right? A lot of our guys that went to 21 convention, Steve the Dean, Alan Roger Curry, all these guys have went to 21 convention, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But over there, they were limiting the guy's talent. Now he don't need them no more. And this is the thing that the black manosphere had to get away from the whites, because they weren't going to address our issues. Black men have to understand, we have to write our own goddamn ticket. And I'm okay with that.
True.
I'm okay. Let them have that. They can have all of that's theirs. They can give it to their people. For me, I'll go so far as you can have your own women. I kick them white women over there. Everything they want, let them have it. I don't care if you have something small, it's yours. And black men have to understand that. Like Dr. John Henry Clark say, if you have to build the needles, the pins, all by yourself, learn how to do that. And that's what we need to do, because nobody, the majority, is going to cater to the minority and say, oh, we're going to pull you up to where we at. It's just not going to happen.
Let me say, so I'm the director of jazz studies at Ohio State. And one thing that jazz faces, so jazz is the black thing, right? And the rest of the schools, and I'm intentionally not talking specifically about Ohio State, but schools in general, you have traditional studies, which is classic in the European classical tradition, and you have jazz, and jazz has always sort of been treated like a satellite, or like a, you watch The Office?
I've never watched it before. No.
Yeah. Oh well, in The Office, there's like the main building, or the main sort of office where everybody's in, and then there's like another room that's off the side that they put kind of other folks in. So it's kind of that, and part of the issue is because the conservatory model, it was not designed to accommodate jazz music, because of the different sort of way that it's taught, and the sort of it needs different things to thrive. It has its own paradigm, but it has been in the academy, and so slowly you sort of have seen a lot of what makes jazz start to sort of change, to sort of bend towards this conservatory model, to make it more congruent with the conservatory model. The problem with that is that it makes it can lose some of what makes it, great, some of what makes it different. And so that's a problem. In the academy, what I have seen is that the problem is not as much a white versus black problem. The problem is it's a liberal, the white liberal thing, and people, I think black folks, are confused by this, or they don't recognize this, but the white progressive and white liberal, the stuff that they want, the stuff that serves that community, doesn't help us.
Right.
It ain't for us.
Right.
It is not for us. It definitely isn't for black men. Right. So I think black women have been somewhat served by that, but black men have not. And I think the sooner we can try to start getting back to the place where we're creating our own dynamic, we're creating our own spheres, and being loyal within them, I think that we're going to see. We talk about slavery a lot. 400 years of oppression, 400 years of slavery. Yeah, okay, that's true. And that's what got the ball rolling. But what was it, 40s and 50s? I mean, in the black community, we had the highest marriage rates.
Yes.
In the country of anybody. Of any group. So, in a very low out of wedlock birth rate. But then you go through these progressive programs that supposedly were supposed to be helping us, and in particular, the effects of forced integration. See, that's what I really think is actually has caused most of what we're experiencing now. It is the after effects of forced integration, because first of all, the way that they did it, see, real integration would have been white folks would have had to come to the black neighborhoods too, right? But what they did is they said, no, you black folks, you got to go and spread out and like this, and right, and so it decentralized our power, so to speak, and so we went from being very loyal, buying, black owned, supporting black owned businesses and supporting our own stuff, to having a negative attitude about black owned stuff where we don't trust it, because if you really going to get the real stuff, you got to go and get it from the white man, because that's the real good stuff. This other stuff, the black stuff, that stuff ain't the good stuff. So we have that sort of disposition, but the academia thing is interesting because this whole cancel culture thing, the whole liberal perspective, progressive perspective, it's like an echo chamber, and so they're trying to stuff like they're blocking people like Ben Shapiro and other folks that have different kinds of views in protesting. They don't want those folks to be there, but that's not how you actually that's not how you foster openness, new ideas, education. That's not how you do that, because what's going to happen is you keep the students only aware of certain things. When they leave that academic bubble, they're going to encounter someone like a Ben Shapiro or somebody like that is really smart and has strong arguments, and they're not going to be able to hold on to those positions. Oh yeah. But if you allow them to interact with those positions when they're in academia, and then you're going back and forth, then at least you have a shot, if that's your goal. I don't think it should be your goal to try to recreate students that have your same biases. I don't think that should be the goal. But if that is the goal, it's not going to be served by making sure that 85-90% of the professors are Democrats.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this, because you make an interesting point that liberal agendas are not for us, especially for black men. And then obviously you said that black women have been somewhat served, by those policies.
But then again, only 25% of them will get married. And that's because they bought into a lot of that.
Yeah. So we got to really understand, let's take a step back and look at why Kevin Samuels is becoming so powerful. It's not because of black men, right? It is. But Kevin Samuels has become more powerful because of black women. Yep. And what do black women understand? Black women are understanding like, oh shit, he's right. Yeah. Let's peel it. Let's take the curtain behind from the Wizard of Oz and see, that these policies are not, this is I've been set back, and my social conditioning is wrong. I think the people that have been black women, because the thing about black men, we're more of an individualistic society, but black men still are, outside of white men, if it's about dating, and black men are still like number two, and so that hasn't hurt us. Obviously, if you're successful and you can earn, and you have somewhat of a personality, you have, you know, all of the availability of women that you can choose from, including Black. Black women, though, they have quite the opposite issue. Doesn't matter how much they earn, right? It doesn't matter, you know, so they have a more of a limited pool. So they're told to be more rigid towards dating and relationships insofar as, you know, and they're being rigid after, you know, a lot of times, you know, they've had a child or, you know, they have these, you know, ridiculous positions with not understanding what men really want. And then they're still having this kind of, you know, these rigid expectations or very finite, you know, that what they were looking for. And so at this point, you know, you hear the average at best chick who's 35, has a 13-year-old child, and still believes that, you know, there's a lot of market out there for, and that's what you're talking about, those liberal agendas that has, you know, socialized her to believe that that's out there. And the reality of it is that it's not, you know? And so Black men are looking at it like, okay, yeah, you know, I've had some problems too, but, you know, now I've arrived and I'm 34. I'm arrived and I'm 39 now. Hey, I can go back and grab and get a 22-year-old, 23, 24. Yeah. It's, you know, but for sisters, they can't say that, right? Doesn't matter what they do. So I think that, you know, for them, it's sad, right? Because women, and the thing about it is in the Black community, women want to talk about this, and they're independent and all of this. And I wouldn't discount, you know, contributions that African-American women have made to society. We're in Black History Month, right? Black women have done a lot to support, you know, Black men's causes and civil rights causes, and, you know, in things. I've been helped by Black women in the community, so I can never go back and discount what they have contributed positively to where we are as a nation. But we have to understand one thing:
your mom African American.
Yeah, your mama Black. You know, that's the favorite one, right? But outside of that, here's what we need to understand: Black women need help. Yeah. Black women need help from men. And you can try to trick Black women to think that they don't, and that they're better than the men that they're in the same cohort with, but they need support. I was giving an example one of the videos I was talking about. You know, women go through those things 3 to 5 days a month, sometimes longer, called periods, right? Some women it affects more than others. Some women are almost bedridden, can't do anything, you know, and a lot of pain. And, you know, that's the time, you know, at least a week out of the month, wouldn't it be good to have a man, you know, that could, you know, go, and anybody that's lived with a woman understands how she can be, you know, sometimes you want to just leave her in the other room. You don't even want to go in there. Like, look, just tell me what you need to eat. You know what I mean? Cause it's, you know how brothers know what I'm talking about. You kind of just slide the food in underneath the door, you know, you kind of slide it in there, and, you know, but women are going through a lot of pain during that time. Women are going through a lot of emotions during that time, that sometimes they have to go to work and dealing with that. Women need support. Okay. Yeah. Women, you know, brothers like us, we understand that, hey, I got to get up at 3 a.m. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. You know, you have your podcast business trying to get off the ground. You know that it's going to take some time. I have to do this. I have to do this. We understand that this long term, right? Women don't have that mentality as much as we do. So women need infrastructures built for them that make life easier, because they're going to have children and things like that. Now, when women try to say that I can do all of this stuff, it sounds good. You know, when it comes down to it, you know, do you really want to stay up and work 13, 14 hours a day, and do that every single day? Women want to do that usually, and that's fine. That doesn't make her less of a person. That doesn't make her weak. That's just not what God made women to do. And yeah. And Black women feel that they have to come out here and they have to say that what makes me strong is that I don't need you. And what makes me strong is I can do everything. You have some Black women out there that their motivation is, I need to put my mama into a new house. That's something that historically Black men would be thinking about. Like, you know, you have a lot of Black women in America and we don't talk about this a lot. But their main motivation for going to college and doing things is I need to take care of my mother. Yeah, black women and that's the mindset. And at the same time, I want to take care of my mother, but I want to get married. I want to have kids. Okay, now how much money do you need to make to do all of those things, black women, and be stressed out? Because you got an older mother, now you want to have kids, but you want to live in the new house. So now you have all these different, now you have all these different compartments now that, and you haven't been realistic. And here's another thing too, if you've been watching Kevin Samuels, a lot of sisters that have come onto his show, he will ask some very practical questions. Give me an amount of money that you need to have to do such and such X, Y, Z. You know what? They never know. Okay?
That's right.
So all of these things that they're wanting to do, Mama want to put her in a nice house. You want a nice house. You want your kids to go to college. You understand? You want to do this. Okay. What you're talking about now is $500,000 a year. But you know, you have a master's degree in social work. You know what I'm saying? But you're independent. You know what I mean? And so now now what you're talking about is impractical, then, you know, and there's not a lot of planning and how a lot of women think, a lot of logic behind how to get things accomplished and done in steps. You know, it takes time to follow through with things. You know what I mean? Like you in your podcast, you're showing up every week. You're showing up all the time. It's hard to get Negroes to come here like me. You know what I mean? So you're dealing with that, but you understand there's a bigger end game for this, right? A lot of times women don't look at things like that, you know? And if things are tough and hard, they have more of a tendency to give up or quit, which is understandable because, you know, not all, but some. So the thing about it is this, a lot of black women out there have been taught at a young age that, you know, men are people you can't depend on. That's something that we have to change because men are your biggest allies, right? There are more women, there are more in the manosphere. I can tell you right now, there are more, I complain about this a lot sometimes. Black women get more support from black men than black men get support from black men, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you're not going to be able to get the support that you need by talking trash and telling guys you don't need them. Yes, those black guys in your community, you do need them. Okay, you saw that sister, what happened to her in Harlem, where these idiots attacked her and bit her eye out, like it was ridiculous stuff like that. You know, you need black men to come out and if they're around to protect you. You do need black men as much as if we want to have the black community, we need black women too. So we have to get out of the bullshit. And all that conditioning, because you need men to build things for women to be able to enjoy. You got to have that. If you don't have that, the women can't be protected. The women will get harassed. The women can't have nice things. The kids can't have nice things. All of that costs money. You need black men to have businesses, black men to have networks, not LinkedIn, Negro in. You need to have brothers to be able to call somebody like you, like Brother Ike. Hey, bro, you need to go to the Dr. Thunder show. Who is Dr. Thunder? Just go over there. Okay, cool. So you need that, right? We need that kind of a brotherhood to be able to build revenue so we can give things to the women. That's how it works. Yeah. And the women don't understand that. You're going to continue to be lonely by yourself. And it sounds good when you're 25, but when you're 45, when you're 55, and you by yourself, it don't sound so good no more.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why that whole die alone thing that Kevin's been saying, that's why that is sort of really struck a chord. And it's because, hey, maybe this cat is right, and if I don't listen, I don't want to die alone. You know, buy a dog. You know, that whole thing it's because it's true. You know, one thing about Kevin is which is different from a lot of folks in the sphere, is Kevin is he's an advocate of marriage.
Yes,
I'm married, you know, and I have a 7-year-old, and a 7-year-old son, and part of my interest in what's going on in the black manosphere is for the sake of my son. Now, my parents are still married. You know, they've been married 51 years.
Wow.
And they're the only people that they've ever been with, you know. He was 19, she was 18 when they got married, you know.
Jesus Christ.
All right. And
I can't keep nobody 51 days.
Yeah. And so we are, there's 4 of us, of their kids. But, my dad was not going to be able to give me specific insight into the dating market. Even if he had a lot of experience dating, he still couldn't be prepared for what this dating market is like now, but with social media and everything and how that sort of has totally changed the game, I at least want to be informed as to what's going on. So when my son gets of age, that I can have these sort of frank conversations with him. And hopefully some of the dynamics have changed by then. Hopefully some of this stuff has gotten better, but I don't think it will.
No, I don't think that it will, as long as, hear me go on a limb. Long as you have white people, black people living with whites, and this is going to be controversial that I say this, but there's a level of separatism that I believe that you need, because as long as we are under the jurisdiction of whites in America, you're never going to be able to raise your kids. And I experienced that when I was in Uganda. In Uganda, I mean, if you're a kid in Uganda and you're doing wrong, the police will, your parent can get you. It's like back in the 70s and 80s, somebody can get you and nobody going to say nothing. That is Uganda, and they believe in disciplining their own people and things like that. Now, if you were to, your kid or something like that in the store, you were to correct your child, you have 1,000 people with the cell phones out and things like that. And, as long as black people are next to whites, you're going to have less and less power. The only way that it's going to get better, black people are going to have to demand to be separate from white folks. And we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to discuss that. But that is the only way. This is the reason why. I had so much fun when I was in Uganda. Like, I was stuck there. Actually, I failed OBGYN last year. On my way to Uganda, I thought I passed. And it was like, no, you didn't pass. So I had to come back and retake it this year. I was there for 11 months because of Corona. I came back and passed now. But and now that I'm in Poland, I realized, I thought about, going back to the United States and things like that. But the kid doesn't belong to me. That kid belongs really to the system. I can take care of it and stuff like that. But as far as really being able to put my spin on everything, my kid will be socialized about what's going on social media, what's going on TV. He's going to be social. He's going to be, the social conditioning is going to happen even inside of my own home, and that's something that, Africa, they have more control over that, what's going on in the world. And although that's trying to change here and there, black people are never going to get a fair shake unless whites are out of the picture. And out of the picture means that you have this where blacks are at and they have control and autonomy of themselves. When whites are making the rules for you, the things are never going to get better. Black people have to be allowed to solve their own problems. And especially when we're going to the help of the people that created those problems. Like, for example, we talked about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is, known, outside of being one of the worst law students in his University of Delaware. But also, we talk about Joe Biden and that controversial 1994 crime bill. Yeah. Okay. And unapologetic for what he said, what he had to say. But if you look back at what the Democrats, everybody knows this, the Democrats are known for, they were the party of slavery. Okay. And if you talk about the welfare state, you talk about other things, you talked about the Bill Clinton administration where you had more black men locked up, and that 8 years from 92 to 2000 than any other president in American history. And then here we are looking and asking these same people to solve our issues for us. Logically, it doesn't make sense, but we have a lot of African Americans who want to be next to whites, who want to beg from the crumbs of whites. And I understand how that works, because a lot of times it makes good to complain about racism and white supremacy, but you sure do love living next to them, right? And I was in Uganda. I didn't have no Starbucks, right, for a year. I had to, and the power was going out a lot. I didn't have Comcast. I didn't have Verizon home speed internet, AT&T broadband. But what I realized was that although it wasn't as good as what I was, these people, it was their own stuff, right? It was theirs. They ran it, to a certain degree. It was because it kept going off. So I know it was them, right? It was it. So I know it was some Pookies and Ray Rays cutting them lights off. But at the same time, I enjoyed it because here are people trying to, at least to the position we're trying to do for self. And blacks have to make a conscious decision to fight to rule themselves. And the next generation should want to fight to rule themselves. And to be autonomy. Isn't your life not worth being underneath your own jurisdiction? And that's where I'm at. My life is worth me being under the rule of others of my ilk, not the white man, not Nancy Pelosi. I don't want you to rule me. I want my people to rule me. Let me be judged by them and not you. And until we get there, you're always going to have more issues and stuff. I don't care how much money you're making or whatever. You need to force the separation arguments.
Yeah.
And until we get there, it's never gonna get better. But for me, I'm there now. I'm there. I understand that if I have to go live somewhere else to be judged by the peer group of blacks or Africans, I'm willing to do that. And we have to get there. And once we can get there, then we can run our communities. Because the white man is not gonna let you run your communities. He's not gonna do that.
No.
Look at what happened in Tulsa. He's not gonna let you build up stuff to run to a certain degree where you're challenging him. Now, like I said, he don't mind you being the quarterback of the football team. He don't mind you maybe being the head coach. But in the NFL, he ain't gonna let you own the team. That's why the NBA only has one owner, black owner. See, when it comes to ownership, they're gonna stop you there. They're gonna make sure you have a cap. If you get $100 million, I don't care about that. That's okay. You know what I mean? But when you can control industries, that's when they're going, wait, hold on. No, we're not going to let you know. You niggas not going to run no industries over here. We're going to stop that. And if you get too powerful, we're going to let you know, like Bill Cosby. I think a lot of that had to do with, he's trying to buy, was it ABC or something like that. No. We're going to let you know who you really are. I think you get a little bit too confident. Let's show you. We're going to show you. We're going to show you. And what's happening to Bill Cosby in America, in my opinion, would have never happened in Nigeria. You think some Dangote would go through that night? Never. Illegal Dangote would never get them. And Dangote is a known playboy. That's the richest black man in the world. He's known for, if he was in America, he would have all type of, Me Too's. Dangote's a player. But what I'm saying is black people are going to have to make the conscious decision. I want to be judged by our own people. Because we're going to keep having these conversations as long as white folks are there. They have to be out as much as possible. And if that can't happen, we're not going to have no communities. Because the white people have to understand that the blacks have to be judged by them. The number one thing is blacks will never elevate to where they need to be as long as white folks are there. When they left us alone, even in segregation, we were doing perfect.
Yep.
We were doing better. Even Martin Luther King, when his last speech, said, listen, even with integration, 10 years after that, or 8 years, we have less money than we had before. So if they can leave us alone, we can do better. But we can't do better with them in the country judging us, ruling over us.
No. Yeah. I appreciate you doing this. We could keep going. There's lots.
I know. I'll come back. If you need me to come back, I'll come back.
Yeah, please do. This was a fascinating conversation. Like I said, just kind of scratching the surface though. So, but thanks so much for doing this. Again, like I said, appreciate what you've been doing in this space. If I don't watch every single one of your videos, it's pretty close.
Well, you know what I try to do? I try to be entertaining, you know, because a lot of black men don't have a lot of entertainment that's catered towards them. So I try to work hard to make it funny for guys. And
it's very entertaining. You know, between you and Minister Jap, I'm rolling.
Yeah, he's crazy. He got the dogs barking and stuff in the background.
Oh my goodness, man! Killer Cam.
Yeah, he was around at the same times that we were. He was around the same regime. Yeah, so he was in our generation. He was there, but he's funny, man. He's a really nice guy too. You should bring him on here too. He's a fun guy.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll wrap.
Okay. Thanks for so much.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. Peace.